Hey everyone, it's Kirk Simon coming to you from Remax Mainline. Just answering some Facebook ideas. This is a great one from Dawn Leeson, an old friend from Kutztown. Thanks for the great ideas, Dawn. I really appreciate you out in Minnesota. I hope you're doing well in the Keys for your vacation. She wanted to know how to handle the inspection process. Essentially, when you sell a house, you go through an inspection period in a lot of areas, and basically the buyer comes in, does their home inspection, and gets a report, and then basically what happens is there's a second round of negotiation to the contract. The buyer usually sends us in Pennsylvania at least a standard reply to inspection form. It says, "Hey, I got a broken light over here, or a misfiring, fireplace, or just a broken heater, whatever that issue is." Based on the contracts as they're written, that reply is the opportunity to tell the seller that you would like them to credit or repair the item prior to settlement. Now, the question from Dawn reflects, how do you handle it as a seller? Well, you handle it through a negotiation. Basically, you don't have to do it. In the state of Pennsylvania, if the buyer replies, they have the opportunity to pull out of the contract based on, something that they find, as egregious or minor as it may be. So basically, the way to handle it is always inside the framework of the deal. Sometimes you buy a house, it has a lot of problems, and that's kind of part of the deal. There's nothing really concrete, Dawn. It's really just, how that negotiation goes, and what your agent advises and what you want as a buyer. As a seller, you want to minimize your costs altogether, so you want to do as little as possible. Usually any inspection, there's a couple of items. I always tell people it could be, a couple $1,000. Anything pretty much past that really runs a risk of just imploding the whole deal. Now, if the seller says no and the buyer pulls out, in most cases the buyer will get their deposits and move on. However, the seller in the state of Pennsylvania has disclosure laws and requirements. So if the seller doesn't do something, it's very likely they'll have to disclose it to the next buyer. So from a seller's perspective, they're really just looking at, what their costs are. And that's what I would recommend to a seller. What's your best alternative to not doing this, or can you do this but not that? Maybe you handle the light bulb but not the broken door hinge, whatever those issues are. So the simple answer is it's a negotiation, and it's a matter of what you're willing to accept as a buyer and a seller. But it's a great question, Dawn. I appreciate it, and I hope it helps some other people that we're friends with. Thanks again for the question. Take care.